7. I just finished my period.
Yay!
Yay!
How long to the next one?
Let me check my clue out. Today I'm gonna talk about how I bleed out of my vagina every month.
I'm leaving very soon.
I don't actually care. I'm very open about my period, hence the fact that I'm putting a video about it online. I'm basically just going to talk about it for the young people who haven't started yet and are curious as to what it's like for me. For people like me to relate and be like, oh my god, same.
Your periods. Peers. I'm sorry. That's it for me. I'm out.
And for people who aren't like me and who do not bleed, to get a little bit of empathy, have a little insight, see what it's like. Okay, I got my first period when I was 14. I was desperate to have it. I was so desperate, but I did not want to let that on. Pads and tampons to me were like alien. They were a sign of womanhood, and I wanted to be a woman. So I'd like carry some around just in case I started, and all my friends started it before me. So after years of not starting and seeing everyone else go through puberty and me being like, I want to start now, I was sitting in physics class one day, and I get a lot of stomach pains just generally, so I had this kind of tummy pain, and I thought I needed a poo. So I went out of my class, went to the loo, just for a little wee, wiped, and saw blood, and burst into tears. That's right, I started crying a lot. Then I called my mom, who possibly cried with me. We're a dramatic pair. I went back to class, asked to go to the school office. Because I was in such a state, the office lady was so nice to me, and she actually let me lie down in the sick bed and like close all the curtains and have a little nap. It was so great. I remember sitting that whole day thinking like, does anyone know? Can everyone tell I'm now a woman? I think I got it, and then it didn't come back for a while. I was very irregular for a long time. I first tried a tampon when I wanted to go swimming on holiday. It was a hilarious experience. My mom helped. We used like lip balm to try and lube it up there. Okay. Anyway, it was very funny. It was just my mum laughing and me in hysterics. Then I was good at tampons, and thank goodness, because I had a very heavy period. I had clots that were like this. Okay, I need to put a warning on this video. Anyway, I was getting like clots that I could hold in my hand. I was just bleeding a lot. I had to change like a Super Plus tampon and a giant maxi pad every like 5 minutes, literally. It was really bad. So I went to the hospital, and they were like, yeah, you're like anemic, well, let's give you some northisterone, which is a drug that just stops your period, which was nice. I did that, and it ended, and I was like, cool, great. And the doctors recommended I have something called a D&C. I don't know what that stands for, but essentially it's when you kind of scrape your womb because it's too thick. This was when I went under anesthetic for the first time. Anyway, that totally sent my periods out of whack. Is that the right phrase? And everything was just hectic for a while. They actually put a little camera up my womb as well, and I had this very posh doctor who was like, oh, it's like a little aquarium in there. You could see all of the growth. After all of that, everything was very hectic, and they gave me a little chart, which was like a little green card, and I had to like record how heavy my flow was whenever I got it, and when I got it as well, but of course I was a teenager and I completely forgot about it all the time, so that didn't really help out too much. Because it was really irregular, I went on the pill to kind of regulate it, but that gave me migraines, which are the worst thing in the whole world. And then I went on Depo-Provera, which is a contraceptive injection, which completely stopped my period for like a year, but that gave me zero emotions, like I flatlined as a human. So then I came off it, felt better, but then went back on it, had no period again, then came off it again, and then in about 6 months my period finally returned. This was only the beginning of 2015. Then I was very irregular for a while, of course, and only just now has it started getting back into the swing of things. I'm 22, and I literally feel like I'm only just getting to terms with my period. We did it. What a journey. Well done me. Well done womb. Kind of. You messed up a bit at the beginning, I'll be honest. Anyway, so that's me now. And now I can tell you about my cycles now because I use a little app called Clue. I've actually been using this app for a long time. All of my friends use it because I saw people talking about it in videos. My friends Tessa and Lucy use it. I'll tell you more about that in a second, but it's essentially an app like the chart they gave me when I was younger, but with like plenty more options. Plenty, you can tell I'm in America. You can take note of your mood, your tiredness, your excitement, horniness, and see what affects you in the month and when. And the more you track, the more kind of like accurate it becomes. It's so interesting. My body is like a clock. It's so weird to me. It gives you updates on your cycles. My updates are usually just, your period is weirder than most people. So yeah, I've been using it for a few months, and it's very handy to know if I'll be on for a certain convention. I just came off. Thank you. Oh yeah, if you can't tell, I'm at Playlist Live in America in a hotel. Personally, my favourite thing about this app, which is possibly weird, you can sign up with a Clue account, Clue Connect, with your friends, and you can see when they're on their period as well. So Lucy is currently in her fertile window. Good to know. We're both ovulating. Wonderful. It's so handy, it's so helpful. It's free to download from the iOS, Apple Store, and Android. Clue is apparently the hashtag #1 rated app by top doctors and researchers. So now that I can see information about my period, I will tell you about it. Okay, so I know when I'm going to start my period because firstly my app tells me, secondly my boobs hurt a lot, they get very swollen and they feel bruised, just tender boobs in my next EP. I'm just kidding. My skin becomes very oily and not great, and I become annoyed with everyone and anything. It just feels like everyone's really incompetent, and I snap at people and I say things that I wouldn't normally say because it's like someone has just injected me with go away poison or something. Whenever I notice that, I'm like, oh, I'm coming on my period. So then the next day or the next few days is the first day of my period and I start bleeding. My womb kills a lot on this day. It just aches, it cramps. Then I'm like crazy heavy for the next 2 or 3 days. Then it kind of goes to a normal flow and I don't feel as much pain. And all in all, it kind of lasts about 5 days. The last 2 days being just not too bad. Then it turns brown and then it's back to normal. Lovely! If you're curious about what period pain is like, it's kind of like, feels like hands just kind of like pulling stuff apart, or like when you really need a poop, but it's a little bit like lower down than that. I also get like aching in between my legs. It just feels like everything's being pulled. It's not pleasant. Take painkillers like ibuprofen or paracetamol and have some nice warm or hot bath, a hot water bottle, some tea, you know, look after yourself. Now in terms of what I use to, you know, not bleed everywhere, I used to use pads and tampons up until very recently actually. Back in my day we didn't have no menstrual cups, but now they're a thing and I own one and I love it. I really recommend it. The first time I used it, it was definitely scary and terrifying. My body has a habit of like freaking out whenever there's anything like different in it or on it or happening to it. Anyway, you shove it in, it kind of like unfolds. The first like 5 minutes I was kind of walking around like, there's something in my vagina. But now you can't really feel it at all. And it's just so great. I don't have to worry about it at all. Like everyone is always warning you about toxic shock syndrome, which is like this terrifying thing to do with tampons that no one really knows anything about, but there are like horror stories of like losing limbs or whatever. But I don't have to worry about that anymore. Also, I'm helping to save the planet. Now I just take it, this little thing with me. I carry it around in my bag. If you have any questions about it, I'll be in the comments. I might do my own separate video about menstrual cup. I don't really know. Maybe to round off this weird video, here are some tips that I use a lot. Keep a pad in your bag at all times, because although like Clue will tell you when you're coming on, you might forget to put it in when it is your time, and also you'll have it for a friend if they need it. Like I said, take a bath if your pain's really bad. Having your period is a great time for self-care for you and for your skin and for your mood. Just look after yourself because they're hard, they're really difficult. We have a stereotype of complaining a lot about periods. Wouldn't you if you bled out of your womb every month? Anyway, just look after yourself. And also, if you're like me and you get grouchy before you start your period, exercising is so good for right before your period because you can get all of those friggin' frustrations out. It really helps, and I'm always in the best frame of mind for it. Thank you to Clue for reaching out and sponsoring this video. I have loved your app for a while. Anyway, alright, I'm gonna go sit in a hot tub, period free. Boom. Okay, so long. Goodbye. Yink.